Good evening, and thanks for clicking on to the slightly later edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of January. And before we continue to look at today's video with regards to the prospects of Storm Eowyn that it will affect the UK on Friday, I want to cast our eyes back a little bit to the past couple of days over the other side of the Atlantic. This is a live look from Galveston. Temperature currently at 43 Fahrenheit. We do have still patchy snow on the ground. Here is a live look at downtown New Orleans. Ice and snow remains across the roadways on Bourbon Street. And then this is a look from Houston. We've still got patchy snow here as well. This is a bit of a loop in terms of different locations. And generally, we've seen record-breaking snow anywhere from Houston all the way across to the coastal Carolinas. There will be a separate video over the next day or so looking back at that historic event. But this is also an interesting one. This is a look at the visible satellite imagery showing that swath. I know it is difficult to see. I do appreciate that. But you can see generally a swath of snow here, seen under sunny skies, anywhere from Houston all the way through. The bullseye was generally Far East Texas, around the Beaumont area, and then central areas of Louisiana, including the New Orleans area where we actually did see a foot of snow in a few areas of the city. Then all the way across into Biloxi, Gulfport, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama had an all-time record, as well as New Orleans, as well as Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and then eastwards into Florida, where we had over 8 inches of snow in Milton, Florida, blowing away the previous record of 4 inches, I believe it was. So amazing to see the lying snow, and even through daylight hours, that snow remaining on the ground. It's simply, you do not often see that being the case. Number one, it's hard to get snow in the first place, but for it to lie in sunshine and not melt, especially in places such as Northwest Florida, for example, temperatures really struggling to get much above the freezing mark through the course of today. The temperatures will plummet once again during the overnight period tonight. So lots going on, and I would encourage you, if you're enjoying the content here in the channel, if you're a lover of all things weather, UK, Ireland, Europe, but also globally, this is hopefully the channel for you. Unbiased, unhyped weather content that you perhaps cannot get elsewhere on the internet. So that is certainly the goal that I strive for: accurate information. This is the current temperatures across North America. So even as of early afternoon, we still have a temperature in northwestern Florida of -1 Celsius with a wind chill of -6.1. Brutal conditions here. We've got even New Orleans sitting at -0.6 Celsius at this hour. Incredibly cold compared to average for this part of the world. Good news for folks here: it's going to warm up big time as we progress through the weekend and into early next week, where temperatures will rebound back into the 60s once again. So, in terms of the polar vortex, and then we'll look at the Storm Eowyn, snow prospects, how strong the winds are going to be, etc., etc. I want to show you this here. This is the latest off the ECMWF, indicating the mean zone of winds. Obviously, one of two measures of determining how strong the polar vortex is. It remains largely above the record line here, right the way through the rest of January and through the majority of February. The ensemble mean is above the record line here. And if we look at the 10 millibar level here in terms of the temperatures, we have a pretty robust and pretty strong polar vortex vertically stacked, and it looks as if, as a consequence of that, we are going to see the response into the northern hemispheric pattern at the very end of the loop here, Friday the 7th of February. Long way out, obviously. Interesting to see some strong warming starting to re-fire over the Asian side of the pole. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. In terms of the temperature anomalies for the month of January so far, this will be one of the coldest Januaries in quite some time for the United States, milder than average across Canada, and even here across the UK and Ireland, we're holding on to below average conditions here, despite the fact that we have gradually seen that warming trend, especially western and northern areas of both Ireland, UK. We've seen slightly closer to average across England and Wales, but we're clinging on to that colder than average, and I think through the next 5 days or so with a more cold polar maritime brand air getting driven across the Atlantic with a very powerful jet stream, areas of low pressure. We are going to see snow as well, especially over high ground of northern England, Scotland, over the next several days here. But that cold westerly flow is going to keep that temperature from really recovering above average, I think, for the month of January. So I think the overall idea for average to below average temperatures for the UK and Ireland for January has played out quite nicely. So looking at the past 48 hours in particular, it has been remarkable in terms of what's went on across North America in particular. Look at these anomalies here, 10 to 15 Celsius below average over the last day or so. Incredibly warmer than average, has to be said. Nearly 50 degrees above average in Alaska, northwestern Canada, extending into the Arctic, Greenland, far warmer than average as well. And then if you look at Europe specifically, we've seen slightly warmer than average across western Scotland, northwestern England, Northern Ireland, and northern portions of the Republic, but it has been largely below average over the last 48 hours across England, Wales, and southern Ireland. We've also got the near continent, so northern France, Low Countries, Germany has been colder than average, but firmly warmer than average. South France, Iberia, Italy, into the Balkan region, in the eastern areas of Europe. It's a bit of a mix and match over the last 24, 48 hours across the European continent. But if we go back to the month to date for Europe, you can see here that it is still below average, especially across England and Wales, where we've held on. Remember that obviously the cold spell that we had, minus 18.9 in the far north of Scotland. Then we just kind of flicked the switch, and all of a sudden 12, 14 Celsius, milder than average nights as well. It has taken a chunk out of that cold anomaly across northern UK, but further south, under closer to that high pressure itself, we've seen a lot more in the way of mist, fog, frosty nights, chilly days as well, and therefore it's not really recovered quite as much in terms of that warm up across the bulk of England and Wales. So, given what I said about the polar vortex and the strength of it over the next month or so here, this is off the ECMWF extended. You can see here that we've got a negative here extended from central Canada right the way across to the UK and Ireland. We do have slight positive heights, if you notice, to the north of Greenland here, possibly extending into the Arctic region, and with a strong positive extending from East Asia across the North Pacific into western portions of North America. You would expect to see some troughiness and lobes of cold getting driven in to the eastern half of the United States, and in turn, with the polar vortex situation, positive AO, NAO, this would suggest to me that we could have a continuation of this Atlantic, possibly stormy pattern as we step out of January and into the month of February. So we will watch this space going forward here. Current temperatures across the UK hovering a couple of degrees either side of the freezing mark across the majority of the UK, as can be seen here, maybe 3 to 5 across England, Wales, maybe 2 or 3 in the positive range across the north, slightly milder west coast and the outer Hebrides. We've got also generally a relatively mild theme across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland at this moment in time. And then if we look at Europe, you can see here that we've got some cold air across the far north, Norway, Sweden, Finland, temperatures locally into the minus 30s here. Some cold over western Russia, and then kind of modest brand chill across central and eastern Europe here, slightly milder across south and central France into Iberia also. Looking further on, then we've got this is the radar image. We've got some precipitation on the French side of the channel here, but a few showers here and there, but nothing really to write home about. Looking then at Storm Eowyn, then, so obviously we've got a lot of interest growing on that one. Looks as if it's going to be one of the deepest lows since 2013, when we had a 939 millibar low passing over Stornoway. That was the lowest pressure anywhere in the UK in over 100 years. And the pressure looks as if it's going to be in the kind of upper 930s, low 940s in millibars as it makes a close approach on northwestern Ireland, Northern Ireland, and then northern portions of mainland UK. It's going to bring a whole potpourri of weather. We're going to see some damaging wind gusts, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds There is an amber warning, North Wales, Northern England, Southern and Central Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland as well, where we could see wind gusts locally in exposure 80 to 90 miles per hour, widespread 60s and 70s across many areas of the British Isles. Underneath the centre of the low, the winds will drop off a little bit, but once the centre passes a given area, we could see an abrupt change in wind direction, but also the strength really picks up as well. But you can see the general warning areas in pretty much a UK wide yellow warning for wind. We also have the amber warning encompassing North Wales, Northern England, Southern and Central Scotland, right the way through the central belt, the main population belt of Scotland as well. All of Northern Ireland is under an amber warning. In that amber area, we've got 70 to 90 mile per hour winds, hills and coasts. Much of the UK 60 to 70 hills and coasts, and then southeast UK 40 to 50 miles per hour. In terms of snow, we'll look at wind in just a second. In terms of snow, this is the snow depths according to the Met Office model here. We do actually have a system. Let's first and foremost look back at that little system that is moving in as we progress through the course of tomorrow. It is that's actually going to drag in some colder and then kind of allow the precipitation to change over the snow as the main center of the storm moves in. So again, like I've emphasized for quite some time, very powerful jet stream. We're seeing that system enter the right entrance region, and then exit in the left exit region of the jet. That is going to enhance the upward motion, the lift within the atmosphere. As you start to increase the rate of lift within the atmosphere, you lower the pressure at the surface. So we're going to see rapid deepening of this system as it moves from one side of the jet into the other. We're seeing a deceleration of the winds at jet stream level closer towards the UK, hence why we're going to see the system deepening rapidly as the dynamics within the atmospheric profile increases. So it's riding that jet. This is the very same system, by the way, that brought the record snow to the Gulf of the United States, and we've got this distinct contrast on the southern flank, heavy rainfall; on the north flank, heavy snowfall. Played through the loop, we've got that main system that's gathering strength out over the Atlantic, Storm Eowyn, but we've got a band of heavy precipitation, rain, sleet, and snow accompanying that band. That moves eastwards. Then, as we move into late Thursday, it's all eyes in the southwest of Ireland and into the UK. Look at the pressure dropping 938 millibars. This is off the ECMWF, 937, 939 millibars as it skirts the west northwest coast of Ireland, northern portions of Northern Ireland, and then the centre looks as if it's moving into western Scotland, northern Scotland, and it's slowly starting to, the pressure is slowly starting to rise as it moves across the northern half of the British Isles, but it's on the southern flank. That is where the strongest winds are going to be initially. Then as the system then clears to the east, we're going to see some very powerful west-northwesterly winds on the rear of this system. Therefore, areas, particularly across the far north of Scotland, that may get off slightly lightly to start with, I think we're going to see very powerful winds on the backside. And what wouldn't surprise me if that amber warning then extends into the north of the UK later in the day on Friday. So once the centre of the low passes to the east, we're going to have some very powerful backside winds on the backside of the low, and then we're also going to see a reinforcing shot of cold air as well, and we could see significant amounts of snow, especially above 200-250 meters in elevation. That system then whistles on through. Then we're met by more features running in off the Atlantic. We don't just simply go back to high pressure once this system passes through. We're in a bit of a conga line of low pressures. So the system moves up towards Scandinavia. We've got the other feature running through, nowhere near as strong. Then it looks as if the modelling is indicating another fairly deep area of low pressure, perhaps another name attached to this one. Who knows? But the pressure down to into the 940s and millibars, so not too shabby in terms of strength in this feature. This would be early next week, I believe. So Monday the 27th of January, we have another deep area of low pressure seen by the ECMWF into the 940s, if not low 950s millibars. And if we look at the wind speeds of this chart here, you can see strongest winds Southern Ireland, Southern UK, according to the latest run of the ECMWF. Then we've got another feature that runs in behind that as well. So we have got a bit of a change in the overall pattern, and that is all indicative of the MJO being in phase 3. Every time we've had this rotation into phase 3 of the MJO, we've seen a named storm in the UK or Ireland. So we've seen that rotation about at least 3 times over the last couple of months, 3 months or so. And every time we've went into phase 3, there has been a more active storm track and the deeper lows, hence the naming of those lows from the Met Office or Met area, depending on the greatest impacts anyway. So looking at the model here, so in terms of snow projections, you can see as we move into the day on Thursday and Friday, you can see the snows kind of mounting up. Once that center of low pressure then moves to the east of Scotland, we're going to see heavier snows on the back side here, and may see even some snow coming down to lower levels. This is 21Z, Saturday the 25th of January here. And then generally speaking, there's a little bit of fluctuation. We're in a cold westerly airstream once this storm moves to the east of the UK. We're kind of in, even if we don't have deep areas of low pressure moving in off the Atlantic, we've got quite a strong westerly and cold flow at that. So that is going to keep the temperatures generally average to slightly below average, probably through the remainder of January actually. And then there is some indications of possibly milder conditions into the early portions of February. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. In terms of wind gusts seen by the Met Office model, you can see here that as we move into later Thursday, we've got some fairly gusty winds, 50-60 mile per hour through the Irish Sea, for example, and then up the west coast, maybe 30-40 miles an hour. That's actually that band that moved through during the course of the day tomorrow, and then it's all eyes on Storm Eowyn. We've got the wind gusts in excess of 110, 115 miles per hour in some exposure across that far southwest corner of Ireland here. So there is there is red warning, issued by Met Orion for these strong winds across the Atlantic coast and across the south of Ireland in particular. 80-90 mile per hour winds seen by this model here across quite a broad swath of southern Ireland, if you notice here. Then as the centre of the low then pushes up towards northwestern Ireland, we're going to see very powerful southwesterly winds moving up through the Irish Sea here. It looks as if we've got the 100 mile per hour winds on the south side of Anglesey, for example. Then right the way up through the channel, 80-90 mile per hour winds. This is obviously raw model data, but nevertheless, like I said, remember Scotland, where you're closer to the centre, even northwest Ireland, Northern Ireland, and western side of Scotland, winds much lighter here because the centre is closer. That is where the centre is passing. It's on the southern flank where we've got the most powerful winds. And look at this here, 100+ mile per hour winds seen here over parts of the Northern Republic, even in the northwest side of the Republic of Ireland. And then it's as that centre then transfers northeastwards, we're going to see the strongest winds then transfer east and then further north with that as well. And then we're in some particularly gusty winds, 60-70 mile per hour winds seen on a 21Z on Friday evening as the centre of the low then moves east and northwards. So it certainly is going to be a very, very lively upcoming couple of days. And if you're enjoying it and you're wanting to know more, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and also subscribe to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. So let's have a quick look at other models here, looking at the GFS in terms of how deep the center is going to be. Let's look at the GFS model, the overview, and then we'll kind of round up at that. So playing through into Friday, we've got the center of the low. Let's have a look at a bit more up close so you can see it better. I know it's still not ideal, but you can see it's slightly better than what it's showing at the moment. So let's go into early Friday. So we've got pressure dropping into the 941 millibar range. That's just off the central Atlantic coast of Ireland. If you notice all that messy conditions, rain, sleet, snow transferring northwards to the east of the centre. That centre then kind of moves, clips the northwest of Ireland here, then moves into the Argyll, Loch Aber area of western Scotland. Still heavy snowfall ahead of the centre itself. That system then clears generally close to the Inverness Elgin area at 947 millibars seen by the GFS. And then we've got that cold backside flow that is generating heavier snow, possibly right down to sea level as that system pulls away. Looking at other models, then let's have a look at the Icon model and see its depth. So we'll play through again. I think all the models are generally coming to into agreement now about the track, kind of generally northwest Ireland, Northern Ireland, and then into Western Scotland, Northern Scotland, exiting near Inverness and pulling northwards. We've got the heavy rainfall, 40-50 millimeters of rain across parts of upslope areas of southwestern England and Wales, even in the northwestern England also. That system then clears through again, pressure rising into the low 950s and millibars. The record for my site here at the Marfogan Weather HQ is 954 millibars, set back last January. Looks as if that record is in jeopardy anyway, based on the model output. This is the Icon. Let's have a look at the arpege model. And you can see again the center of the low is generally the same position, if not slightly further north. And this model has been showing this for quite some time. It's been quite persistent and showing a 934 millibar low, so slightly deeper but further northwest than the other models, GFS, ECM models, Icon model as well, indicating pressure slightly up into the 940s and millibars at landfall. But the arpege is showing a deeper low but further west and northwest of the UK, and then it kind of goes up through the Minch between the Lewis and the Scottish mainland here. 944 millibars then clears off into the north. So lots going on here on Marfogan Weather. I'm going to be continuing to keep you up to date as much as I can. I'm going to be looking back at the historic snowfall in the US Gulf Coast. So stay tuned for that later on, probably tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow with more details with regards to Storm Eowyn. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow with more. Bye for now.